BITSAA Chennai is one of the most active chapters within the BITSAA community. BITSAA Chennai, with its able leadership, supportive volunteers, and active participation, have been conducting series of events and activities, including information sharing, networking, entertainment, bonding, and so on. The next big thing is one such initiative. The next big thing has been a platform showcasing several inspiring BITSian startups and visionary founders. Welcome you all once again to BITSAA Chennai's Next Big Thing Series 10. Today, we have with us Stueti Gupta, co-founder and director of BlueKei Solutions. Stueti, as she calls herself, is a purpose-driven engineer, technology leader, and a STEM advocate. She has over 13 years of experience in both industry and academia. As a professional, she worked on system design, architecture, and behavior analysis of complex off-highway equipment. She's from the 2000 batch of BITSaA and received her dual degree in MSc Physics and BE in Mechanical. Stueti has done 4 internships at various leading manufacturing companies and gained hands-on experience in design and manufacturing. She has completed 2 masters in mechanical design engineering, one from BITSaA and second from Cornell University, USA. To strengthen her interest in systems engineering, Stueti received formal training on systems design and management from MIT Cambridge 2012. Stueti has been a member of the Society of Women Engineers, SWE, for over 12 years. She's the founder and the past president of the SWE Pune affiliate. She has received numerous awards. She received the SWE Distinguished New Engineer Award in 2016, the first SWE awardee from India. She's been very active in International Council of Systems Engineering, INCOS, both in the local and global initiatives. And until recently, she served as the president of their India chapter. She's received numerous awards there as well, and which recognize the chapter's efforts in advancing practices and meaningfully engaging with its members. Stueti has completed a decade of successful career at John Deere in India and started her entrepreneurial journey in March 2020. She has co-founded an engineering consulting and a training company, BlueKei Solution Private Limited, where her focus is to advance the digital engineering practices in Asia Pacific. With formal systems engineering methods and principles, she wants to empower decision makers to establish the digital fabric of engineering data from conceptualization to use and maintenance of the product and through its entire life cycle. With the International Women's Day approaching, it could not have been a better time to invite such a powerful women engineer and a leader. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together to welcome Stueti Gupta. Welcome, Stueti, to the next big thing. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. Glad to be here.
So Stueti, tell us about your entrepreneurial journey. How did BlueKei start? And I understand you have a co-founder who's also a BITSian. That's interesting to know. So tell us about your entrepreneurial journey and how did it all start?
Sure. As you heard, I'm in core engineering, and I wanted to sort of retain in core engineering as complex problem solving really excites me. Post my second master's, I came back to India. I was working with John Deere here in the Innovation Center, and I, at that point, as I was completing the first decade, I got this wisdom from my father that look at your career as a 30-year career and divide it into 3 parts and see how you want to shape it. Whether 10 years of a sprint or 5 years of sprint, how you want to see it. So I initially looked at it 10 years. So as I was approaching my first 10 years of that sprint, I was like, there were two states I was in that I could easily have retired from John Deere. It's such a company that you can create opportunities for yourself. You can learn a lot. You can advance your career in many ways. And yeah, so that was one state, and the other was this itch that was sort of brewing for some time, that I want to do something. I want to know more about the industry, and take head on the challenges of the advancement in technology, and do something in that regard. So I let that thought brew for some time, and there was a point where I felt that professionally and personally I could take that risk. And yeah, Ajit is here. We were colleagues at John Deere, and even including our third partner, all of us have been colleagues and have worked in certain capacities, for brief time. And Ajit and I would bounce off a lot of thoughts about these complexities that the industry is facing. Prior to BlueKei, Ajit has a Industry 4.0 device product company, so could get a dipstick from that sense. And systems engineering is something that we are really passionate about. Have looked at complex architectures of agriculture and forestry equipment. So how the technology is going to change that architecture over the years is something that really excited us. So so we felt that we should, and now it's the time to reach out and work with organizations who are wanting to take that digital transformation journey, but also overwhelmed with the complexity that it brings along. So yeah, that's how we started BlueKei.
That's interesting. So to get into a hardcore engineering kind of domain and starting off with that thought, it's fantastic. That's and not many people do that, especially from a comfort, coming out of that comfort zone and then quickly starting off. You started off in March 2020.
Yes.
That's what I
2 years
understand.
back. Yes.
Two years back, and then it was suddenly the pandemic would have come in and things. So how have you weathered that, and how has been during that phase, and now what do you see in your entrepreneurship journey?
Right. Well, it was in 2019 when we started, sort of creating something, thinking about its identity, what shape and form it could take. And March 2020 is when February is when I officially came out of Deere, and March is when we started out. And yes, as you said, within 2 weeks it was lockdown, and but I as you can see, we have survived all the X number of waves that have happened, and it's taken time. It does take time, as core engineering companies do like to have the conversation across the table, and they were also taking that time to get comfortable with the new ways of working. And for us, that was the best time to actually, formulate. We've not changed our strategy too much because we were very clear our positioning is niche in the area of systems engineering consulting, project execution, handholding with the companies, as well as capability development, because there's a lot of awareness that needs to be built about systems engineering in the industry. So so which one happens first is, I think that's what changed. So, in a couple of months, trainings started happening, because that was also the easiest that the organizations could think. But the conversations had already started. We were connected with many in our network who were interested. And we did something, something additional that really helped us. sort of, I would say, jump from that, where we are in the complex situation. We sort of reached out to, very senior people in the community, especially through within the system engineering community. And, we had a couple of mentors, and they also really helped us. I think mentors play a very important role, and we took that time to converse with them, get first-hand feedback on our thought process and our approach to certain industry verticals. Because here, systems engineering is applicable to any industry vertical, be it, like Murugavel was saying, very core IT, or an equipment manufacturing, or even medical devices or healthcare, even application of certain formal methodologies on the hospital shop floor. So it's a big umbrella. So there are several formal ways of enabling that to happen. And then so far we are working with, if you say last 2 years, we are working with aerospace industry, we're working with the UAV industry. We have certain engagements going on with industrial equipment manufacturing companies, and we are making automotive, of course, automotive and the tier one, where there is a lot of integration happening and requires for systems thinking and, special interventions to ensure that the product is first time right, and the issues are not visible, issues are visible much earlier in the life cycle rather than at the customer end. And so those are some of the driving factors. And then now we are also, exploring medical devices industry, where, compliance to regulation drives formal interventions. So.
Oh, nice. That's interesting. So with a variety of industrial applications that you're looking at. So now that brings me to one thought. Now we have a diverse set of audience here. Our BITSian community is such that we have people in all different industries. Now, when you talk of systems engineering, now how can somebody who is hardcore into technology may understand what systems engineering would mean, but for some other person, what does it mean in simple layman's terms, and how can they adopt the systems engineering practices in their in some other industry that they are serving? So if you can just share some examples, it would be helpful from an application point of view.
Sure. So systems engineering is, not an addition of another discipline. It is essentially to bring all of the disciplines together. If we see the products and systems around us, they are no longer pure mechanical or pure electronics. It's becoming a fusion. It's transdisciplinary systems. The lines are blurring in terms of the metal versus the embedded intelligence, and everything needs to work together to meet the functions or meet the needs of the user or the customer. So that's the and the whole premise of systems engineering is is systems thinking. How do you ensure that you're not stuck in your silo, and you're having cognizance of where are you getting the inputs from and where are you providing the outputs, so that and that's readable to all, right? When an embedded electronics engineer talks to a mechanical engineer, they may not talk the same language because they come from different disciplines, but when we see from the point of view of the final product or system, that language needs to be readable across the boundaries. And if you see across all organizations, whether it is an OEM or an offshore design center, they're all structured with disciplines, and that brings the walls. And so systems engineering brings formal processes and methods that allows that integration to happen. So all of these different, it's like a shop floor, right? Like there are things coming out of each station, and then they get integrated, and it's only later we find out that this is not integrating, so it's not going to function the way we want. And so the idea is to as we are developing, we take care of that integration. We take care of ensuring that our system is going to meet the function that it is desiring to. Same way for IT, like, I may be quoting more hardcore engineering, some tangible things that we can touch and feel. But if you look at IT systems now, within that itself, you have so many software systems. You have the cloud, you have the base software, you have some other application software. All of these also need to function together. You have some data analytics, and each of these are their own expertise, and they need to function together. So one needs to employ some sort of a systems thinking to ensure that, all of them function together well.
Oh, nice. Interesting. So from BlueKei, what you do is facilitate this kind of cross-functional or cross-divisional information, and facilitating which each of them and bring in that systems thinking culture and how they can share their information and how to adopt. Is that what you do? Or is there a service as well beyond that?
Right. No, definitely there is service. There are 3 ways we engage with organization. One is the consulting mode. The other is project execution, and the third is capability development. So what each of these employ or require is to understand where the organization is and where they want to be in their digital engineering journey. If we look around, a lot of us do very good documentation of, let's say, requirements, but that's as good as Word or as good as just documenting the requirements in a formal environment. But what about who's going to verify it, who's satisfying those requirements, and bringing that connectedness, because the requirements maybe are coming from the marketing department, coming from the end user, and getting translated and sent to these various different functions who are going to satisfy, whether IT or whether core engineering. And so we assist organization in bringing the connectedness of this information, building that digital thread, in order to, so the underlying business value that they get out of this is impact analysis. So for instance, one of the automotive companies, they are seeing a big change in requirements because of BS6 norms, and they have varied products, variants catering to different geographies, different vehicles. And now, how do they know how many of these products are getting impacted because of BS6 norm, right? So there should be a quick way of doing it. Otherwise, they'll end up adding more variants and more parts and managing those things. So if we have this information, it's very digitized and connected. It's very easy to know, okay, out of the 1,000 set, these 50 are getting changed, and this is leading to change in so many parts, and so forth. It goes down till in all the functions can utilize that information. And there are various others. It's just transitioning to digital engineering practices. Formally, systems engineering, there's an ISO standard which recommends 44 processes, but everyone need not do 100% of systems engineering. If you ask me, it's about what is the complexity and the risk that you're managing at hand, and that's the first thing to address. If the risk is at, let's say, for a UAV company, if their bird doesn't get certified, it is not airworthy, then they it's a unusable product, right? So the risk is in order to ensure that I have that certification. So risk is to comply to all the requirements that come from the certification. So how do you ensure in the entire product development lifecycle you're ensuring that to happen? So yeah, those are some examples. And then project execution is more about, there is a lot of systems modeling, there is specific adoption of processes or improvement of processes, because most of the companies have processes already set in place, or if it's a new company, they want to introduce processes to ensure compliance to some of these things. And then the capability development is essentially on the awareness and empowering engineers as well as leaders. In fact, next week I'm doing a training where where the program is essentially to sensitize leaders. They may not be systems engineering practitioners, but they, as part of the culture of the organization, they need to support the engineering team to ensure that there is, the practices are successful and they are, creating good products. So
Right. That's cool. So I can see a lot of passion when you're explaining about the structure, the processes, the involved, the technology, the systems design, and stuff like that. So now that you're on an entrepreneurial mode, so you see yourself still as a technologist, or you see yourself as a businesswoman. Do you wear two hats? Which one are you more comfortable with?
That's an interesting question. So in fact, we at BlueKei are structured in a way that I wear both the hats. So Ajit here, who's on the call, he's the sales and business development, and then we have a technical director, Mudit Mittal, and I play both the roles. I'm enjoying both and learning a lot. Of course, as a technology, as problem solving, that's obviously the core. And the business, running the business and understanding the business aspects is the other adjacencies that I'm honing the skills on.
All right. Good luck. Good luck. I'm sure it's going to be as interesting. And so let me go back a little. 7 years in BITS or Pilani, right?
Yes.
Now that's something, right? 7 years now, and that too in that desert and surviving those 7 years, and that too at a stretch. Interesting to see that. And then you did a double masters. That must have been incredible. So, can you share some of your learning experience in those 7 years and how it is helping you today?
Sure. So, to start with, I wasn't even going to apply. So I have a very BITSian family. My sister is a BITSian. She is 97 batch, mechanical engineer. And I have an uncle, actually, he was probably your batchmate. He was in civil engineering during the time you were there in BITS. So my criteria was to go to hostel and study. Anyhow, I applied, I got through physics, and then after 1 year, I took this dual with mechanical. Very conscious choice of not taking computer science and triply. So remaining was mechanical, civil, or chemical. So I got through mechanical, and I think that was the best choice. So being a dualite, I did double sim PS. I was in Sundaram Clayton. I did my PS because my parents were still in Chennai, so I chose to stay home and be close by. And anyway, mechanical engineers wouldn't get too much of a stipend, so I think so it worked out well. And post my 1 year, I did give GATE, and but then I quickly understood that it's easier to get into BITS for a master's program. So I did that, and I also sort of got a gauge from I did my internship. My PS1 was in Sundaram Fasteners, and PS2 was in Sundaram Clayton, and I'd seen that a lot of people do masters in order for career development. So I had that sort of got that sort of an influence that for me to be in core industry, I should do a master's in mechanical. So I went back to campus, did design engineering. I also started being a full-time TA. So for that to happen, I had to drop a course every semester. So I did that. But then in the master's, I did thesis because I decided to pursue further studies with the intention of PhD. But then when I went to the US, when I got through Cornell, I took that up, and I decided that, it'll be a shorter second degree. And after, for me, Cornell was like, my BITS masters was very theoretical, even though they were a little hands-on, but it was more theoretical. What's behind in, what goes behind the CAD and the design and things like that. And so I could easily design my second master's to more hands-on. So I did a lot of projects, and that's where my systems engineering journey started. But yeah, 7 years, it was good. I experienced both a student and a faculty life. I was living in faculty quarters as well. It was just for one semester. I was assistant lecturer because I was applying. So I took that time to teach in mechanical engineering department, and have enjoy the life of Pilani campus as a faculty.
Nice. That's cool. Good to hear this side of the story. So I could relate to many of the part, being physics B5 myself, and I could relate to that. And I also did a double some PS. So that was the fun part of it. But what I couldn't relate to it is that when you said your uncle would be my batch, and saying that made me sound very oldish. No, so good. Good to see that you have a BITSian family with you, and also a BITSian set of partners, colleagues with you. That's a good BITSian community that you have within your own inner circle. So that interesting to see that. So you went from 7 years in BITS and then Cornell, and then how did you come back? Many people when they go abroad for especially a hardcore engineering or a thing, and they stay put there in the US. So what made you come back and then start off on your journey here?
Well, I'm a product of recession, and I did have a lot of job offers when I was in the US, but they were more for IT, and I didn't want to do that. It didn't seem justice to the kind of development I had done for myself in core engineering. And that's when John Deere happened, but they said they are starting a new innovation center in India, and if I would be willing to relocate, and they would support it. In fact, actually, it worked out well because my hiring manager did his PhD from Utah, and he sort of could relate to my journey, what I have done, and what I did at Cornell. And so yeah, I thought it was a very good opportunity, and it was they were starting a new systems engineering team. So I just said yes, packed my bags, and came. It was a big shock for my parents because they also thought the same, that she would never come back.
So you've been enjoying your stint in the technology field for all along. When I was going through your profile, I saw that you've been very closely involved with the SWD, the Society for Women Engineers, and then you've been involved in mentoring professionals, and especially women professionals, into engineering. I think that's really commendable what you've been doing. So can you share a little more of that? And I'm sure there are many ladies here who could be inspired by that, and take that as a cue.
Yeah. Sure. So I think I've been very privileged growing up. I've got the support of what I wanted to do. In terms of career choices, in terms of kind of education, but it's not the case all around. If you see statistics, women are 49% of the population, and engineering undergraduate also, if you see, there is a very fair representation of women. If we dissect by discipline, it's different, but then overall there is a fair representation. However, if you see in terms of leadership position, it becomes 2% when you go to the board, or and even the next number is hardly 10 or 15%, right? Next level of leaders. So and I think I did not feel that kind of challenge even when I was in BITS, because we were 20 in the whole batch, 20 women in the whole batch. I don't think anyone is still in mechanical, but we were quite a few. So and while back at home, when I used to speak to my school friends, if they were in any core engineering, there would be just one female in the whole department. And so I would hear stories of challenges or things being faced, of that underrepresentation. So So that's why I always felt like reaching out and helping and ensuring that we don't lose out on aspiring a career in engineering. And because there are several opportunities, it's just we have to find out, and we need to just persist actually and not give up. So I've done a lot of, I was a SWE student member at Cornell, and when I came to India, they didn't have a chapter here. So that's when I sort of mobilized a few things, even with John Deere's help and otherwise outside. So we created the chapters here in India. I've been involved since then, and now they have quite a few chapters. In fact, Chennai is also very active. SWE Chennai chapter has quite a few engineering companies where women are participating. So with that, the focus was more, professionals also need some sort of a forum. It's not it's just about knowing that you're not alone. If at all you feel you're struggling, it's about that, right? It's just creating that tribe to feel that you're not alone and that you can easily reach out for help. I think as sometimes as our culture, we shy to reach out for help. So and it's all about just that 5-minute conversation that can ease your struggle out. Even if there was no solution in that conversation, it can just ease and make things better. So that's the whole idea, that I feel that it's okay to reach out for help, and to figure out things together with bouncing thoughts. And also awareness is another key piece. So professionals, of course, it's necessary as they go through different career stages. But for school and students, college students, it's even more important, because once the diversification happens over there, it's very difficult to come back. So if they're aspiring to be in science and engineering, then they must be equipped with the right knowledge. So we created a program for school where, we would make them do some ice breaking, as simple as, using pencil as a resistor. And you can see the glow in their eyes when the bulb, when they complete the circuit and the bulb glows, because they just did it with pencil, not any other fancy electronics. So it makes a difference. It makes them feel that, yeah, they did something and the bulb blew and it didn't burst. So school has been a fantastic experience, just getting them excited. And for college students, of course, as they look out for opportunities, when they enter mechanical engineering or any other core engineering, they're already thought that this is not for me, I'm going to find a career in some other place, right? So how do you make sure that you are sort of at least allow yourself a chance to see if this is possible?
Right. That's really nice that you took that as an initiative and started communicating with people. And I'm sure the people look up to you for career advice and many things where professionally how they can gain from it. And I'm sure it'll be an inspiration for many in things. So hardcore engineering is a rare commodity, especially in that. So congrats on that thing.
Thank you.
So just to keep our communication a little more open, I would request our BITSian Janta to ask questions. If there are any questions, you can raise your hand or put up the message in the chat box so we can take it up and we can communicate. So we have one question from Kiran Mai, who says that, how do you encourage creative thinking from your employees and co-workers?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So, being a field person, one of the ways and I exercised this when I was I did a stint in John Deere in embedded systems group, and they were all embedded electronics software engineers. And when I would ask them, what are you writing software for? You can name the product, but what does it look like? How does it, touch and feel? So, in that sense, in that context, I would organize field visits for them. Now, this is agriculture, so you can step a little bit out of the town and you will find some equipment running in the field. So, and of course, we had a good L&D center. So the creativity comes from just stepping out of the comfort zone. So we are very comfortable in front of our desk. We are coding, we are writing beautiful software, we are architecting beautiful products, but the real value comes and the creativity comes when you are in the context of where it is going to be used. So so I've taken a lot of my teams to the L&D group where they could touch and feel the product. It may be a different version, but at least they could touch and feel the product and go to the field and really see how it's operating, because there are a lot of unsaid, unarticulated things that the operators and farmers do, which doesn't reach the whiteboard. It doesn't reach the offshore design centers actually. So that's other. And then there are a few within systems engineering, there are a few artifacts that allows you to create or build better understanding about the system. You may not be responsible for those interfaces or those features, but have the ability to understand how your system is going to function, how your system is going to interact with other systems and things like that.
Okay, thank you for answering that question. So I also saw that you have been a member of, or you've been involved with AR/AI Academy, and you take lectures and things like that. Can you share a bit about that?
Sure. So AR/AI is right here in Pune, and I've been connected with them through various capacity, of course, as through SAE forums, but where I've delivered a lot of lectures for systems engineering and innovation through systems engineering, and more formally now as BlueKei, delivered lectures for professionals in automotive industry and faculty. About systems engineering, like how systems engineering interventions can bring value to automotive professionals. Now, automotive OEM may have ownership of the complete system, but tier one, their product needs to integrate with the vehicle, and that vehicle can be any. So how do you ensure that you got the interfaces right, you got the system function right, and you have sufficient information of where your system is going to function? So those are some knowledge sessions that have been conducted with AR/AI.
Nice. So as they say, the best way to learn something is to teach. So I'm sure that experience is helping you in your business as well.
Absolutely. I think I learn more from those sessions.
I can imagine that. So Murugavel has raised his hand. So Murugavel, you have a question for Stueti?
Yes. My question is whether BlueKei system product or some solutions you are saying, it is competition to the existing software system which is already running in the industries like SAP or any other automation tools, or you will complement that system? So this is my question I want to understand, because whatever you are saying in system engineering, remodify the activities of engineering, SAP has the maintenance management, SAP has the different module-wise activities to control this one, or any other automation tools are also right away coming into the industries, not from SAP, from other people. Small automation tools are getting interfaced with those engineering activities. So that's why I want to add whether you will be a competition or you will complement.
Sure. Excellent question, Murugavel. Allows me to reposition my position here with BlueKei here. So so at BlueKei, we are our positioning is as technology consultant, knowledge consultant for organization. Now, for digital transformation, digital engineering, tools are key enablers. And but prior to getting your system data, the engineering data about your system in the tool, one must understand, the organization must understand what is the process or what is the formal method that I'm going to apply. So, and that thinking has to happen outside the tool. So in-house, within our team, we have expertise in tools across the board, which enable systems engineering adoption. So as I described, for any product system, there are various disciplines involved, right? And each in their domain have state-of-the-art tools. So if you take 3D modeling, there are several CAD tools, and they have weathered a lot of years and become very mature. Same with analysis tools, same with, for embedded electronics. So the idea with the systems engineering tools is to integrate and bring the connectedness across this. It's not to wash out what is already existing today. We need to leverage the best of the state-of-the-art tools for that engineering domain that exists. But how do you marry this data to bring business value, or to enable decision making, or to address complexity and ensure that the risks have reduced? So so as such, BlueKei, we are not married to any tool. We work with the tool environment that the organization already has, or enable them to understand what all they require, so they can take the decision of which tool they would like to procure, because those are more strategic decisions. It's on number of practitioners within how much they would like to spend for it. Some things that we might build is, how does that interoperability happen? So we might have to create some, that software piece that is going to bring the connectedness. This is yet to mature in the overall industry. A lot of tool companies, if you see, they're allowing that interoperability to happen. Some of them exist, like, for example, connecting a systems engineering tool with the architecture that is built in MathWorks, or the 3D modeling that is there in one of the CAD modeling tools. So some of the interoperability is existed, but it is yet to mature. So we sort of create what is that data model will look like. So we work with these tool companies to enable that, to implement that data model. But the thinking has to happen outside the tool, because the tool can do hundreds of things for you. What do you want? And you can start modeling, but you'll not know when to stop modeling. So that is where BlueKei comes in.
Okay, so definitely a single word I can say, you are a complement to all these things, not a competition. Okay, so you don't want to remove anyone, so you want to add on some plugins to this one. And one more question I'm having. What is your target size of industries? It's a very large scale industries or SMEs. So how you want to, what's your target audience for this tools?
I can give answer, and I'll invite Ajit also to add on that.
See, why? Because I'm saying there is a backend behind this one, because a lot of SMEs are struggling with the automation implementation. So still SMEs only contributing a lot in the industries compared to the large scale organizations. So without even a job work or any other small activities are done by these SMEs, and then only it gets coupled with the large industries. Even if you take John Deere, all the miniatures will be created by the SME organization. So the automation is not happening at the SMEs level. How come this kind of top-notch companies will do the restructure their automation? So that's one big question we have. And there is a very big target group in this SMEs who once hardly need this kind of tools so that their productivity is increased, and they will value add more to their principles. So just I want to have a understanding on this one.
Sure. So to answer the first part of the question, as such, if you'll see, we are working across the spectrum. Like we're working with UAV companies, they are also startup like us, right? And electric vehicle companies, many of them are integrators and also young startups. So to a large scale organization as well. And the common characteristic that exists in any of these organizations is each one is handling some sort of complexity, right? Maybe because of technology adoption, maybe because of the goals like you mentioned to improve engineering efficiency, to get the product first time right. For UAV companies, like if you say, if they just integrate the bird and they go and test it in the field and it doesn't work, or it just crashes, they have lost lakhs of rupees in that drone, right? So or that bird. So they want to ensure that they are being able to manage that. So we are working across the spectrum, and there is no criteria to rule out anyone. It's as long as we're able to address one of their business needs in terms, and systems engineering helps them. The right amount of systems engineering intervention helps them.
Great.
So just to add on, Murugvel, to what
Yes,
Stuti
Ajit.
mentioned, SMEs is an integral part of, especially the way we do business in our country. What OEMs and the bigger ones rely on. And in fact, there is an increased responsibility or expectation from SMEs to develop complex systems rather than standalone individual components. Even the OEMs, especially like in automotive, if you see with EVs, are looking at who can give me an integrated system which has got a BMS as well as an efficient vehicle control, for example, or a transmission control system. So that way, we are fairly open, as Stuti mentioned, to go with either ways. And in fact, where there is an amalgamation of technologies, amalgamation of engineering, that is the key area where we can contribute a lot.
Fantastic, Ajay. We'll.
Okay.
Thank you, Ajit, for stepping in. That was a nice interaction that we had. So you mentioned about digital transformation, and so that's the buzzword today. So in the current scheme of things, you see a lot more opportunities with companies shifting into the digital transformation, and where your role can increase. Is that what you're seeing today? The trend is already picked up.
Yes, and actually digital transformation is a big umbrella word, I would say. We are participating in the engineering digital transformation, bringing integrated engineering much upfront in the development cycle. Now, that statement may be true for new product development, but there's a lot of legacy systems that the organizations are already working with. So how do you digitize that information, and because some of the products are going to last long, right? Like there is a product that we are working on is going to be in the field in its usage cycle for 3 decades. How do you how do you ensure that you have the system information, you have the history of that system documented, such that even if there is a service request after 20 years, you're able to pull out the right engineering data about it. So the maturity is very different in different industry verticals. See, systems engineering stem from aerospace defense because they started with very complex systems. Like space systems, you can only test once. You can only validate the system once it's out of the space. So you need a lot of processes, robust processes and compliances to ensure that your system is going to work right. And then next comes, I would say, automotive, then the industrial equipment manufacturing, and the of course the off highways, and like you can bundle them up in automotive as well, and of course the healthcare and medical devices engineers as well. So some other industries, what they need to do is just tailor what is happening. But the tailoring also, out of those 44 processes, tailoring and ensuring that I'm getting the right and I'm not unnecessarily making investments where it is not needed. That's why tying it to the business objective, tying it to what value it is going to bring to the organization becomes very important. So it's picking up, like I said, in its own silos, each engineering function, each function, like even if I say support functions like supply chain, logistics, or even those, they have their own digital systems in place, but nobody talks to each other. Sometimes we even fail to invite the right people in the conversation. So the culture and the technology piece needs to come together, and I think there is a lot of opportunity in that.
Sure, well said. The culture and the technology, and then how it can add value to the business overall. So that's what is important. Very nicely articulated. On the same lines, we have a question from Ratish, who says, who is asking how to handhold in change management during a system engineering transition. Some quick take on that.
Sure. So change management is a journey. It takes time to curate new interventions and bring about that change. And same as with and it goes along with the culture, not just the engineering transformation. It's building capabilities within the personnel, the engineers, the leaders, in ensuring that for sustenance internally, the teams need to be empowered to bring about that change. If you ask from BlueKei perspective, we put it in perspective as to tie it to a success measure, that if this change is going to be across the years, then what is the ultimate success measure, and what are the interim what's the interim ones, and then there is a roadmap. So then it becomes easier, because you're always you may diverge a little bit, but then you'll always come back and connect to, is this connected to my success measure that I defined? And that could be how much of reuse has increased of parts, or how much of engineering hours efficiency has been brought about because of certain interventions, or there could be many other such business value success measures that can be defined. I don't know if that answers Ratish's question.
What I understand is that there will be a lot of analytics, insights, and metrics that will be involved in doing this transition, and how you look at each one of those will also play a crucial role.
Right. So as we work with organizations, we help build that roadmap. We help build those, actually the metrics already exist, or if maybe some new get added, but that kind of view with leadership already exists. It's just we need to tie the initiative with that success measure, and make sure that we are guiding directionally right all the time. And as BlueKei, we have defined interventions where for sustenance, the transition has to happen internally within the organization. However, we come in from time to time to check on that, whether we are directionally right or not, or we need some other tweaking, because over a period of time, you see the system. You see the outcome of behavior of any intervention over a period of time, right? Like policy changes, you never see impact of policy change in the single year or in a single month. You see it after 5 years. So similarly, any intervention within the organization, you'll see after a period of time, and that you have to allow that allow that to happen. So that's how we've been functioning.
True, very true. There's another question from Naveen Karnam, who says that, who's asking, it's a very interesting area that you focus on, looking at cross-disciplinary areas and encourage and train smart integrations. Do you do TRIZ? I don't know what it means. TRIZ kind of trainings and workshops as well. TRIZ.
Yeah. So TRIZ is theory of inventive problem solving. It is a Russian it's a Russian term actually, the acronym, but the English word is Theory of Invented Problem Solving. So I've been a TRIZ instructor. I've trained 200 plus engineers within John Deere, though I'm not formally certified through TRIZ India, but I have used it within our innovation team as well as across different engineering teams in John Deere. So so I can teach TRIZ, but and I mean, definitely can look at what's the requirement in terms of the workshop. So Naveen, you can get in touch with me and we can discuss this.
Right. So, so we are from BITSAA Chennai. The interesting part is that I live in Mumbai and you live in Pune from the Maharashtra team, and then we are contributing to the BITSAA Chennai thing. So I would request you to talk a little bit about your Chennai connection as well.
Sure, definitely. So Chennai journey started early 90s. I think it's in 92 that my father got transferred to Chennai. We've lived north, south, east, west, and Chennai was the head office for him. He was working with TAFE. So my parents, they have lived for almost 22 years in Chennai. I did my schooling 6 to 12 standard in Chennai, where I can speak, read, write Tamil more than my own mother tongue. My mother tongue is Dogri, but because of the growing up years, and there were no big bazaars that time, so and there were no big baskets that time, so you had to go to the mom and pop store and really say what you want. So and in the initial days, I've taken that Learn Tamil in 30 days book with me. And then since I picked up very quickly because of school, I was the one given tasks outside, and then of course added on with the shop floor experience. At TVS. That's it. I enjoyed my privileges of understanding Tamil in Pilani campus, because nobody could guess that I know Tamil. So, so I've enjoyed some of those days. Although I, traveled in Tamil Nadu Express all the time, but everyone thought I don't know Tamil. So it was an interesting time.
Nice. So it's interesting to know that you've worked on the shop floor of TVS and then interacting with the workforce there in Tamil. So that's nice. I mean, in fact, we could have had the transaction or communication today in Tamil. Good to know that you know reading and writing as well. That's wonderful to know that. So we are almost coming towards the end of the session, unless somebody have some more questions. So before we wind up, I have one question. So what is your message for aspiring entrepreneurs, especially women entrepreneurs and women engineers? Your message as somebody who's gone through this journey.
Sure. I think my message, will be very simple as, just come out of your comfort zone and, have that ability to recognize and experience, whether it is life, personal or professional. I think both of them help. When you do things very differently in your personal front or in your professional front, you try to translate those to the other side. So come out of the comfort zone and reach out for opportunities, reach out for help. Nobody says no. I've had so many mentors in my career all throughout that have shaped my thinking, have opened up my thought process, and I'm not saying they directly helped me with opportunities, but have led me to thinking about those opportunities, those unknowns. So, and raise your hand. That's another mantra that I always have. Like, you may know nothing about what you're raising your hand for, but if there's an opportunity being asked, okay, who's going to do this project or who's going to do this initiative, just raise your hand and you'll figure it out. Nobody needs to know 100% anyway. It's all teamwork. So that's another mantra I have. Just raise your hand and sign up for that opportunity.
Yeah, that's a great message. Taking initiatives, raise your hands and move forward. And you never know how many forces will come and help you. That's a great message. Thank you so much, Stuti. Do we have any more questions from any of the audience? Open forum. You can just straight away ask any questions or for Stuti and the BlueKei team.
Not a question as such, but just a reminder, I guess. Stuti, you or Ajit, if you want any of the audience to contact you, do you want to share the contact details in the chat?
Sure, I can do that.
Sure.
Sriram, I think
I already connected with Stuti, but I did nothing to the conversation what I did with her. So I have a lot to do with her. Stuti, this is Sriram.
Hi, Sriram.
Long back, but yes, how are you?
I'm very well. Yeah, and I keep messaging you. I remember you.
Yes, we will connect soon. We suddenly went silent, but time to connect again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
No problem at all.
Okay.
Anytime.
Yes, we will do together. Okay.
Thank you, Sriram. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And that's the beauty about our BITSian network, right? We're all there to support each other, and how we can, we always look for opportunities, how to collaborate. In fact, one of the success mantras for myself has been that the BITSian community has always supported me in my 25 plus years of experience. So I'm sure you'll go places with all the BITSian support and the community support that you have. And nice to know about your BITSian family and the community that you have it in-house. So good wishes to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We will have a photo shoot. Everyone can switch on the videos.
We may have to take off the spotlight, or
Remove the
Sir, they will take the screenshot. So everybody has to switch on the video. So Muruga will take the screenshot in the Zoom.